Hey guys, this is Ms. Hurst. This is the second part in how I plan for the quarantine status, and I'm going to show you what I created in Schoology. Now, all the things that I've created here could actually be done using another LMS, or you could even do it as a hyper document. The idea is sort of like a choice board, so I thought you might get interested out of this. So if we take a look here, you can see my Schoology course. All I've done is I have organized it so that right now the only things you see are the things that the kids are going to do. I took all my normal folders that I have that set everything up, and I put them into a separate one so that it was a little less cluttered. So the first thing I have is a README first, and that's just a note to my kids about what they're going to find in this course, just to give them some more information. And then this right here, this quarantine folder, that is the first thing I have set up. I was in charge of Unit 3 for my team, so as I told you in that last video, that's where I was planning my things out. Now what you'll notice here about this folder is, first off, it tells them what's in it. Then it has them choose 7 items. So there's actually more than that inside, and I recommend that they start with videos if they're confused. That gives them a starting point so they know what to expect. You'll also notice there's this little check mark here that says must complete. Now, having recently graduated college in the last 10 years, I've actually taken my fair share of online courses, and so I have a couple best practices from the student side that I've learned, because they are not my thing to take. I'm not a big fan. So when I go into the course, the first thing I'm going to notice is that there's all these things here. Now, because I read what I had to do, I know that I don't actually have to complete all these things. I get to pick any 7 items to complete. So the first thing I did was I have a MobyMax skill review here, and I set that up as an assignment. And this is Brandon. He wanted to be featured in the film, apparently. So, I have created a MobyMax skill review here, and so what you're going to see is that they can log into our database at clever.com, and it's a hyperlink that I have inserted into the assignment, and once they finish practicing for about 30 minutes, they can submit a 1 to 3 sentence summary just saying what skills they worked on. Now when I go back to that folder, the second item is similar figures practice. So Schoology has the ability to insert something called an assessment, and that's what this is. What this actually does is it shows them a worksheet. They do it themselves first. I'm going to preview it just so you can see it. So it shows them this worksheet, and they're going to answer the questions. You'll see the instructions are to complete the questions on the worksheet. When they're done, they can check it in the assessment. I have the assessment set up so they can do it up to 20 times. Really, it's unlimited attempts. And what they're going to do is they go through and they do the worksheet, then they can find out if they did their answers correctly by answering the questions. So I've just inserted all the answers here, either as a fill in the blank that's just a number, or true and false for things where there's only 2 choices. Could also use multiple choice. So what I've done so far is I have 2 things that review skills or give the students instant feedback without me having to go in and check it. The third thing here is I like to make things a little bit more interesting. It's solving for similar triangles. Again, they're going to Clever to log in because that's our system that keeps track of all their usernames. But this is just a Khan assignment. So I went to Khan. I found 4 different assignments that kind of recap everything. Again, the students are getting that instant feedback practice, which is really what's necessary. Next up, I have a group discussion. So in terms of online courses, you'd never get out of it without having some sort of discussion board post. Now, that being said, I really don't like that feature. However, I do know that my students like online learning. I'm sorry, my cat is pushing the screen. So I do like that the students can interact with each other. And so what I did was I turned this into more of a gaming competition. The activity that I did was how are items similar? And then I want you to find something in your house. So, for example, behind me on the shelf, I have some teacups. They are congruent to each other. And if I had another one where one's big, one's small, then I would have similar items. And I would take a picture of those two similar items and I'd be able to get an example. Now, somebody else has that same item in their household or same type of item, maybe not same color. They can knock me out by posting their picture, and then they need something even more unique so that they win. Just thought it'd be a fun way to use a discussion board. Next up, I have a project, which is called Picture This. I got this off of Teacher Pay Teacher. I was trying to limit the amount of work because obviously creating one of these folders can be a lot on a teacher. If you're creating every single item yourself, due to time constraints, I didn't have the ability to do that. So I found this and I thought it was a really good project. It's a Picture This, where they take a picture with an item, they know how tall they are, so they can figure out how tall that item is. And since we're dealing with a lot of people at home, I said be useful to your parents and find something they want to know the height of anyway, if that exists. They're just going to post that project. So from these activities, these first ones I've discussed, I have group collaboration. I have individualized with a video and instant feedback. I have individualized instant feedback practice with unlimited attempts, and I have individualized remediation software. Finally, I have a project, so I'm trying to hit all the different types of learning that a student might choose to partake in to keep this interesting. Now I have a program called Formative that I really like. And I clicked the wrong button, sorry. Now I have a program called Formative that I really like. And so what I have is a login that they can go to on for Formative on Clever. It's at home in their screen. And we've used it before, so my kids are familiar. But what's really nice about this, and what I want to show you, is that when you go to this lesson, you can embed it in the page like I have here. It shows up as a guest code. But what I can do is I'm going to go to the original page and make this a little bit bigger. And it's this 7-3 one. And this one is really, really great because, as you can see, it's someone who does MathQuest. But what they did is they have embedded their slides and a video. And so what this does is it gives my students, again, a review of the content in a new way. And it gives them a resource that they can look back at, which I am really a fan of, especially with distance learning. You have to teach it a couple times. So if this is something they want, they can watch the video and then go through, and there's questions that they answer. And every question, you're going to get instant feedback on if you did it right or wrong as soon as you answer it, which is really, really useful when you're trying to make sure you've mastered something. Going back to Schoology, into my folder, my next item was a QR code similarity practice. And I've actually embedded this on another website as well. And this is called Classkick. And it's a new website that I found where when I log in, it does say it works better on that. I haven't had issues. The students are going to see this screen here where they have this code, and all they're going to do is type in their name. Once they've done that, they've now entered the classroom. And this page here can actually be written on just like paper. I think it is fantastic. I only found out about it, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago. But the fact that I can click anywhere on this page, I can write things on there. If I'm using an iPad, it's really easy. I can raise my hand to get help. There's peer-to-peer help that exists too here. If I click on the pen, I just want to show you that real quick. So I don't have to type everything. I can handwrite it if I want to. which is really awesome for going through and doing things. I can also upload a picture. So if I decide to do my work on paper, I can just take a picture of my work and show it, which is really, really nice as well. And finally, also for students, I can have it do audio. So I could go through and just explain. So maybe my teacher gives me an assignment where I had to write my own test and I have to explain it. Well, here you go. They can explain it here, and it's going to link straight to that worksheet. There is grading capabilities, and it is really nice. I'm a big fan of it. The next item in my how to deal with the craziness of online learning is a similarity review, and it's using a website called Delta Math. When you go to Delta Math, it's going to provide question sets that I have constructed, and if they don't know how to do a question, it'll give them videos and hints and things like that, so that while they're practicing, again, they have that instant support right there. The most important thing that I've found through my time doing online courses as a student was that I need that instant feedback right then and there, just like if I were to raise my hand and ask a teacher. And so what you'll notice is that in all of these activities so far, there's some sort of instant feedback or it's an open-ended task. Now, I have a review with games here because they're not going to want to just do work all day. So I have added games. And so I have Prodigy and Sumdog. We have a test that we prepare for called STAR. And so both of these are really useful. They cover kindergarten through 8th grade. Prodigy is pretty good. It doesn't have quite as much practice in it as Sumdog does. So I am a little bit partisan to Sumdog, but I have kids who really like Prodigy, so I'd give that as an option. When it comes to Sumdog, it has games and it will placement test and work on what the student needs to as well. These two things right here are using an extension called EdPuzzle. So if you check out one of my other videos, I have created a how to link your EdPuzzle account with Schoology because it makes it so that my students don't need to make an account and they don't need to remember a password. All they'll do is they will click on this link and it's going to play a video. What's nice about EdPuzzle is that when it plays videos, it's always going to show what's happening, and I see it on the student side right now. But it's always going to show me as a teacher how much my students have watched and what they've done. Now, an important note for using EdPuzzle with Schoology. There's been an update, so you have to take an extra step. You have to go into the edit, and up here at the top, it says Tool Provider. Initially, when you create the assignment, it's going to say automatic based on URL. In my experience, this does not work. You have to change it over to saying EdPuzzle. If you don't do that, your assignment will not work and it will not say that they can get into it. The second thing is you need to make sure you enable grading. If you don't do that, then you can't see what's happening as well. I have a second EdPuzzle video here. Again, both of those things provide instruction, they provide examples, and they help students go through and understand what's happening. Now, the last thing that I have in this folder is single packet printables. So I wasn't sure what all was going to get sent out, if we were going to actually have physical packets or if this was going to end up being all online. Now, because of that, I noticed that in my activities that I have here, I have a lot of, you can't print it out. I have a disproportionate amount. I do have about 5 things you can print. So I said, okay, well, I need some extras. So what did I do? I used Google, and I went and I found some more things. All I did was I uploaded those here. It's optional for any of the students. You see this must view item part here? The only reason I did that is because when I click this student progress button, I'm going to be able to see exactly which students have accessed that material at any point in time. So if someone tells me, my student has nothing to do, I can say, well, that's because they haven't accessed this or they haven't looked here. Or if I have a student who's like, I looked at that, I can see, yes, you did look at it, you just didn't submit anything. And so that's why I really like having these check marks here. This is called a completion folder. I've made it so that they have to turn something in for most of these assignments. And that's going to help them know what assignments they've done on which day. This folder lasts the student 2 weeks. We're averaging about 3 hours a week. That's realistic. Maybe 30 minutes a day with 1 day off. So it's realistic to go through and see that type of thing, but it does take time, and not everybody's going to remember exactly what they've done from day to day. So it's nice to be able to get that little check mark that tells you what you personally have completed. Again, I made this using a completion folder, and to do that, I used options in student completion, and I added all of my assignments in here. Make sure submissions are enabled, and make sure that you have grading enabled for your assignments so that you can make some of the same things that I have here. So you can see I have make a submission on my assessment. I want them to score at least a 90. They got 20 tries, you know. If we go through on the EdPuzzle video, it's just a 5 out of 100, just because that means they watched it and they answered the questions. It's nothing super crazy. The goal here is not to be busy work, it's to be actually useful work for the student. We're not trying to waste their time. We're not just trying to fill up their days. Our goal here is to have specific targeted activities that helps the student learn that specific skill. In this case, this entire thing goes through similar figures, and every single one of these addresses it in a slightly different way. What that does is it provides a lot of repetition to make sure that it's really solidified in the students' minds. It also allows some higher order thinking activities when we do the applied cases that the students can try. Finally, the folder makes it so that you are scaffolding so that your lower students might go watch those videos first because they don't know what they're doing. Maybe those are the students who are going to message you to get extra help. If you're having online office hours, you can just say you have to have attempted at least 2 assignments before you can ask questions if you were getting inundated. So overall, this is how I have created my folder. This is what's inside for my distance learning. This is how I would create the course up. There is an add-on in Schoology now called Conferences, where if your school pays for it, you can do your virtual sessions for tutoring or extra help if you want to have a live session with your students. That does also allow them to make phone calls in if they don't have the computer screen for it. So I hope this was helpful, and I wish you the best of luck on your distance learning adventure. Bye-bye.